Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Priyadarshan and welcome to Chess Gyan YouTube channel, and we are talking about checkmates in chess. And we have been discussing about checkmates that happen in different squares on the chessboard, and here we are talking about the f1 square. So the position that you see on the board is black to play, and black can't really give a check or anything on f1 because going rook f1 would just be a free rook for white, right? Because white would just simply capture bishop takes f1. So rook f1 is not an idea. But black creates a powerful threat whereby you can create a check on the white king, and it's important to know that creating threats is as important to understand and learn and get better at, because only if you create threats you can then execute them, right? Here black played bishop e5, a very strong powerful move, because now the bishop is aiming at the king with only the black rook in between. If the rook moves, then the black white king comes under check, and here white position which is already in big trouble, and white could have played maybe something like king g1 and kind of get away from the check, which is what I think would be the wisest thing to do. But white is like, what, I'll just capture this pawn, it's for free, but this just leads to a checkmate in one. I hope you have figured out what move black played here. If you haven't yet, please pause the video and make a guess, and then continue watching this video. The move that black played here is rook f1, and it's not just a check, but it's a checkmate, because the the white king on h2 can't really go anywhere. It can't go to h1, it can't go to g1, because this rook on f1 is controlling those two squares, and the bishop is attacking the king over here. So that's a checkmate. So let's move on to the next example here. So in this position, let me flip the board as it's white to play, and if you look at it, the black's king is really in a dangerous situation, I would say, very deep into white's territory. So how can white kind of exploit the fact that the king is so deep into the white's territory? And also an important thing to note is white is actually having an extra rook. So white is having a material advantage, and also it's white to move, and black's king is so deep into white's territory. And I would suggest you to pause the video if you haven't yet found the checkmating idea, because that's a forced checkmate for white in this position. So let's see how the game continued. Rook f3 check, and the king has only one square, and that is e1, and now we have a checkmate on our f1 square, which is rook f1 with a checkmate. So let's move on to the next example here. So in this position, it's like looks pretty big advantage for black, because black has extra material, and it's white played bishop c3, and after bishop c3 is where I really want to kind of discuss this position, because now it's black to play, and if you do look, this king on d3 is in a very weak position. The king can get mated anytime soon, I would say, because there isn't a lot of exit squares. And one important factor to know if you want to checkmate an opponent's king is there shouldn't be no exit squares, right? If there's an exit square, the king will run away from exit square. So here you may be thinking, should I give a check on d1 or f1? Because the topic says you have to mate on f1 square, so I should be giving a check on f1. That makes a lot of sense. But if you give a check on f1, there is an escape square on d2, and the king will go to king d2, or maybe even he can go rook e2. So this can happen. So black was more clever in this position. Black first played queen d1 check. The point of it being white cannot go rook d2 here. If he does go rook d2, this queen is hanging for free, and now such a huge material advantage, and black will end up winning this game. And in the game, instead of this, white decided to go for queen d1, bishop d2. But now the point to note is that this d2 escape square is now occupied by white's own piece, and now queen f1, and it's a checkmate, because the king can't go to c3 or c4 or e4 or e2, because all these escape squares are controlled by the black pieces, like the rook on c8, the pawn on d5, or the queen on f1, and here we have a checkmate. So let's move on to the last example of this particular episode. This is a tough position, I would say. I mean, it's not like a direct checkmate in 2 or 3. This is actually a series of moves, and I want to explain how the position developed. So here, if you look at the position, white's king is on h2 defending the g3 pawn and so on, but g3 is definitely a weakness. So black decides to play a very great move, in my opinion. I would highly suggest you to pause the video, maybe think for a few minutes, because it could take a bunch of moves you to calculate to get an idea, or to get a concrete set of variations from playing from black's perspective. So definitely pause the video, think of all the possibilities that you can think to kind of go after the white king on h2. And once you're confident, it's not just one move, but you could calculate maybe 4-5 moves ahead, and you're like, yeah, I can checkmate the white king if it's on this particular square and so on. Then you can watch this video from there on. Here, black played this powerful strike, knight takes g3. So black is trying to invite the white king outside from the h2, because if the knight is being captured with king g3, then it leads to a forced checkmate, and that starts with queen e5 check. And there is really not a lot of escape squares, right? It's g4 or h4 for the white king. And if king g4, you give another check with h5. And there's now only one escape square, that is king h4. So you see how we are constricting the white king's escape squares slowly. And here we come with another check, rook f4. And in case if rook takes f4 is played, queen takes f4 and it's checkmate. And in case for rook f4, if white goes king g3, then you capture rook takes f1 with a check, and the king again comes to h4, and now bishop f6 is a checkmate. So in the game, white realizes that after knight takes g3, it would be a terrible decision to capture on g3. So white just simply goes rook f e1, moves away the rook, because remember, the knight is attacking the rook on f1 also. So rook f e1 was played, and black goes queen d6, and now the king on h2 is in big trouble, right? If the knight moves, the king comes under big checks. So white is like, okay, I'll try to get my king safe. I'll go king g1. So now my king looks safe. And here is where black starts, playing like very precise, really nice moves, I would say. I would suggest you to pause the video if you haven't yet thought of some good plans for black on how you want to keep the attack going. And he started with knight f5. Looks like a bit of a backward move, but there's a really strong idea behind it, because after queen e4, which was played by white, black regroups his knight to e3, and now he's attacking this rook. There's some pressure on this bishop also, and he's kind of cut this rook's view on the e file, because the rook now only controlling all the way up to e3, right? He can't control e4, e5 and so on. White goes rook d2. Black develops his last piece in the game, which is rook on a8 to e8, attacking the queen on e4. White queens drop back to d3, and now the queen lands on g3. And look at how fantastic all the black pieces are positioned. They are just going after the white's pieces, and more importantly, the white king. So here white played rook e2, and this allowed a very nice checkmate in one on the f1 square, and I'm sure you all would have guessed it by now, and that is rook f1 with a checkmate. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon for more updates. And if you do have any suggestions on what videos, chess related videos you would like to see on the channel, please do put them in the comment box, and I will see you all in a video very soon, in a new video very soon. And signing off is Grandmaster Priyadarshan. Bye bye everyone.